Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at my mock draft for the 2021 NHL Draft here in April. It's our April edition of the NHL Mock Draft Top 10. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey and want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. And let's take a look at my mock draft. So going from 10 down to number 1, we have a little bit of a shift at the top, and I'll talk about that as we get through it. But it definitely changes the way that we are doing this year's draft, and I think it could be interesting. We recently had Bob McKenzie's most recent draft rankings here, midseason rankings, and that had a little bit to do with it as well. So we'll get into all of that right now. So at number 10 is going to be the goaltender. We're going to see the top goaltender in this year's draft, the potential to be a franchise-altering goaltender. The San Jose Sharks with the number 10 pick. Yes, they moved down to 10. They were at number 8. They are now 10. At number 10, the San Jose Sharks select Jesper Wallstedt. Jesper Wallstedt is playing with the Luleå of the SHL and is projected to be a great goaltender in the NHL. Swedish goaltenders, we've seen a lot of them recently. We've seen Robin Lehner, Henrik Lundqvist, but this kid is projected to be that next level ahead of, yes, even a Henrik Lundqvist. Jesper Wallstedt is projected to be the next franchise goaltender coming out of Sweden, and I think this is a sweet spot for him to get selected. He's not too early. He's not a top 5 pick, but he's a number 10 pick, which San Jose is a team that they could use some help in other areas. But looking at the guys that have been drafted already, they could probably take that risk. And if I'm not mistaken, do they have more than one first-round pick, which would absolutely help with that? But Jesper Wallstedt would be interesting at this spot. Again, we saw where, Askarov got taken. He didn't get taken till 15th. People had him maybe as a top 5, top 10 pick. He didn't get picked till 15 to Nashville. So this is one of those things where you could see San Jose go get the goaltender because they realize that goaltending is a huge issue for their team, and then start to build the team around that. That may be a good solution here for the Sharks and their rebuild. But Jesper Wallstedt, the goaltender, at number 10 to spice things up quite early here. So at number 9, this is where things get interesting. The LA Kings could have selected 2 guys. I was really looking at Finnish forward Arttu Räty, who has really fallen out. You got Arttu Räty, and who I have that they actually select here at number 9. The Los Angeles Kings are proud to select from the Frölunda of the SHL, Fabian Lysell. Fabian Lysell has kind of driven up his stock over the past couple of weeks, and he's a really solid prospect, projected to be a good player in the NHL, potential to be a top 6 forward. Fabian Lysell could be a nice addition to the LA Kings, add a little bit of speed and scoring to their forward group, and that's exactly why I picked Fabian Lysell. They've got some good defensive prospects coming up, and I think they could use another forward. We saw them, they really haven't been acquiring that many forwards. Yes, they have Arthur Kaliyev. Yes, they have Alex Turcotte. Yes, they have Carl Grundstrom. You add a guy like Fabian Lysell, that obviously helps round out your group. I think this would be a nice addition for the LA Kings. Now moving up to number 8, and again, Steve Yzerman, we know what the Detroit Red Wings are likely going to do with this pick. It's going to be one of the Swedish forwards. And they are going to go with Will Eklund from Djurgårdens of the SHL. He's a center, left winger. He's a good player, and I think this is a great addition to the Detroit Red Wings. This is a guy that can help fill out their forward group. Yes, you've got Dylan Larkin as your top-line center, but you've got to add guys below that. I think they could add a guy like Will Eklund. We know, the European connection there with Steve Yzerman and the Detroit Red Wings, so I think Will Eklund would be a great fit, top 6 forward for the Detroit Red Wings. At number 7, they're going to go down the road with this pick. The Columbus Blue Jackets and Jarmo Kekalainen are proud to select from the University of Michigan center Kent Johnson. Kent Johnson would be a nice addition for the Columbus Blue Jackets. This is a guy that is going to add some forward depth. You've got Texier, and then you add a guy like Kent Johnson as your top 2 centers. That would help fill out the roster there for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Yes, they need help in other areas, but I think Kent Johnson would be a great start. You build up that 1-2 center core, and the Columbus Blue Jackets can really start to develop their team. The loss of Pierre-Luc Dubois, yes, Jack Roslovic has been a good center. He's probably better suited as a third-line center. So that allows Kent Johnson to eventually jump Jack Roslovic for that second-line role. Moving up to number 6 is the New Jersey Devils. And the Devils are going to select from the Barry Colts of the OHL's defenseman Brandt Clarke. Brandt Clarke is projected to be he gets a lot of comparisons to Aaron Ekblad. He's a good two-way defenseman, and this is a guy that you could put out there. He's going to be a reliable defenseman. He's got good, he can move the puck well. He's a good puck-moving defenseman. And I think this is a great move for New Jersey. Now, there's a couple of defensemen that the Devils could look at behind a guy like Brandt Clarke. Do they maybe bring up a guy like Carson Lambos, or if Edvinsson is still available, do they look at those guys? But I think New Jersey will be picking a defenseman at this year's draft with the amount of prospects they have up front. Pavel Zacha, Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt. Do they really need another forward? So it makes sense if they go for Brandt Clarke. At number 5, we have the Anaheim Ducks selecting Simon Edvinsson of the Frölunda of the SHL. Another left shot defenseman. The Ducks are looking to rebuild their blue line, and I think Simon Edvinsson would be a great addition to that. He may be able to come into the NHL as soon as next year or maybe the year after. And I think this is a guy that, in Simon Edvinsson, he's been playing with men now in the SHL with Frölunda, so that gives him a little bit of an edge and may allow him to come over to the States a little bit sooner to play with the Anaheim Ducks. All right, so at number 4, we are at Seattle. Seattle with their first pick in franchise history. At number 4, the Seattle Kraken are proud to select from the U.S. National Development Program, Luke Hughes. Yes, Luke Hughes at number 4 to Seattle. I think it was a great pickup for Seattle. I would have liked to have seen them maybe go with a center. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the team that changes this entire power rankings. If they're destined to go for a center, a franchise center to build around, maybe like a Will Eklund, a Kent Johnson, maybe they pick one of those guys. But right now, Luke Hughes would be the guy at number 4. That's the best player available. If you don't like Luke Hughes, maybe you go with Simon Edvinsson. But I think Luke Hughes would be a great fit. He's not that far away from his brother there in Quinn with the Vancouver Canucks. To add to that rivalry, you got the brother rivalry as well. I think that would be a nice pickup. The first pick for the Seattle Kraken. So now we move up into the top 3. And Buffalo goes down to number 3. From 1 down to 3. And that is the Buffalo Sabres selecting from the University of Michigan, Matt Veneers, the second of our top 10 guys going from the University of Michigan. Matt Veneers is projected to be a very talented, potential number 1 center on an NHL team. And Matt Veneers would add depth to the Buffalo Sabres' already great forward group. And obviously we've seen some concerns about Casey Middlestat. I think he's looked good for the Sabres the last couple weeks. Hopefully they keep him. Jack Eichel and Casey Middlestat is a great center group. So if it's not Veneers, do they maybe look at Luke Hughes or Victor Edvinsson with that pick? But even their defense looks okay. Maybe that's what they decide to do. But I think they go with Matt Veneers here. A little bit of a long shot. But again, they're picking the best player available. And I think that's what the Sabres will do at number 3. And now the top 2 gets interesting. 2 in particular. The Nashville Predators move up from the 15th pick all the way up to number 2, moving up 13 spots. And the Nashville Predators are proud to select from the Edmonton Oil Kings of the WHL, Dylan Genscher. Dylan Genscher has really risen his stock. I could see him in the NHL as soon as next season. The Nashville Predators have a great group of guys to build around. But Dylan Genscher is a wild card here. I think this is the guy that could really help build around a franchise, and he's really done well this season. So I think Dylan Genscher, his draft stock rise, could be a little bit of a concern. Maybe it's a bit of a overhype or an overcorrection for Dylan Genscher. Nashville's going to be a weird team. Do they look to add a defenseman because they're moving out some defensemen? Do they look to bring in another forward here in Dylan Genscher? Or do they really go with the wild card and maybe select Jesper Wallstedt, who I have at number 10. Could he go to number 2 to the Nashville Predators? I don't know if that's going to happen now because they do have Askarov, but I think it's interesting that the Nashville Predators are a team to keep an eye on. Maybe they don't go with Dylan Genscher. Maybe they go with a defenseman. I think Nashville would be an interesting team to look at there. And that means at number one, we have the Ottawa Senators selecting with the first overall pick in the 2021 NHL Draft from the University of Michigan in the NCAA, Owen Power. Owen Power is the left shot defenseman everybody has been talking about. The most recent mock draft rankings, 10 out of 10 scouts had him as the number one first overall pick in this year's draft, and I'm sticking with it here. Owen Power goes to the Ottawa Senators with the number one pick. This is a great pickup for the Ottawa Senators, and I actually made a video earlier today talking about that. We have Shane Pinto coming into the lineup. We have, especially on the blue line. I mean, look at a blue line of potentially Shabbat, Jacob Bernard-Docker, what's his name? Eric Bransham, and Owen Power. That's your top four. That's a really solid top four for the Ottawa Senators and a great group to build around. They have some issues with their forward group, but even there, they've got some guys coming up over the next couple years. Like I mentioned, a Shane Pinto, guys like Victor Lodin, as well as guys like Ridley Grieg to fill out the bottom group. So I think the Ottawa Senators look really solid. This is a great draft class, and we're going to see some guys move around a lot. There could be some busts here. I just want to preface that. Owen Power at 6'5", 215 pounds, at 18 years old, could definitely make some people generate some interest around Owen Power. He's projected to be the next Chris Pronger-esque defenseman. That's asking for a lot, and he's gotten some comparisons to Victor Hedman as well, but that's a lot to ask of that young kid, Owen Power. He was a finalist for the Hobey Baker, so he's definitely gained enough credibility for where people feel that he can get that top pick. I think this will be the top spot at this year's draft. Everybody's tanking for Power at this point in the NHL season. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Do you agree with my rankings? Do you agree with who I selected for your team? Let me know in the comment section down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.